last time shopping. I don't know what she does. Shopping yesterday. World War One. So then we have is that not right? That's right. World War One. So then we have big war. They don't really ask so much about the war itself. There's propaganda. They had military technology. Increased ethnic tension. What's the answer?
Four?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. And then this...
No, I think 3.
During World War One, development led to... You're right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Right, so what they like to talk about was there had been a long time that passed before World War One. The world hadn't been at war this substantially, and the weapons had increased in such massive ways that, like, it was just like carnage. You know, it used to be you could kill one person with your bow and arrow, maybe, or with a gun. But now, like, they had ways of killing, like, a whole village in one shot. It's wild.
So it's 3?
Yeah. And then you have this, it says quiet, and it says espionage. So you just have to know that means spies. But all right. So then you have the Treaty of Versailles, and we like to cause this as the reason for World War II. We punished Germany for starting the war, and because they lost. And they had to accept guilt, they had to pay reparations, reimburse everyone, reduce the size of the military. And this left them in a very vulnerable position. And this is sometimes what we say. You go into Iraq, okay, you overthrow the government, great, but now they're even more vulnerable, and what grows out of the vulnerability, it could be even worse. Sometimes it's better to empower them. These are all complex ideas. There's really no right answers, in my opinion, but maybe some people think they have the right answer. That's why I'm not running for government. Effects of World War One. So Austria-Hungary was broken up. They were on the side with Germany, so that they also were ruled guilty. Armenian Massacre. The Turks attempted to kill the Armenians. It's an example of genocide. That's all I know about it. Women in Europe. So during World War I, all the men were out. The women took over the businesses. Now they start to gain the right to work. One reason they also established the League of Nations as a way to maintain order, and it obviously failed tremendously. And the reason was because it didn't have that much support of the major world powers, and they just didn't. Which development in Germany as a result of the Treaty of Versailles? The answer is political instability. The establishment of independent countries. This is a result of the World War I. Is that the answer? That they made those countries. Hungary became independent. They broke them up. They basically said, you can't team up. Reparations is payment. And then this is a little Alice in Wonderland, right? They give him the peace terms. He drinks it. And he shrinks. And they're like, okay, you'll feel better now. It's like, dude, I feel worse. You didn't help me at all with this. So yeah, the cartoon refers to the World War I, the aftermath of World War I. The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. So Russia got destroyed in the war. Their side won. Is that true? But they just
switch in the middle. Yeah.
They switched sides in the middle to Germany's side?
They just like left the war kind of.
They got okay.
Germany
We're going to get into
Lenin
this.
to them, and they just like bailed out.
What happened with Lenin?
Germany shipped Lenin to Russia so that he could start this whole thing up.
Okay, fine. So Russia took major casualties, a lot of deaths. Tsar Nicholas was the ruler at the time of World War I. I think he is the one that got them into World War I. He also abused and repressed the people. And so during this failed war, World War I, the Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, who was apparently shipped by Germany, he promised them peace, land, and bread. He told them, we're going to overthrow. That's the sign of the Bolshevik Revolution. And they executed Tsar Nicholas. They took over power. He made them communist, and he instituted a new economic policy, which is a policy that increased production. So that's that. Which action was taken under the Bolsheviks? What's the answer? Eliminating political opposition, traditional economy. What's the answer?
Which action? Yes, eliminating
political opposition. Right, they killed the Nicholas guy. So, primary objective of the new economic policy was to gain stability by increasing production. And in the 20th century, this is the Bolshevik symbol, the guy on top of the backs of the peasants. I'm not sure why. They circulate. This is Tsar Nicholas. So they say, look, the Tsar, the priest, and the rich man on the shoulders of the people. That's how he got support. Totalitarianism. So now we're going to get into some dictatorships that emerge after World War I. You have the Soviets under Stalin, Italy under Mussolini, Germany under Hitler. They came to power because of the economic issues, so out of the issues. You have the characteristics of the fascist regimes. They censor the news. They control what people see. They unify political parties. There's no Democrats, Republicans. There's one: the communists, the fascists, the Nazis. You need to put Germany before all else. Deutschland über alles in the Welt. That's your land above everything else in the world. That's, I think, Rothbard taught me that. Most of this stuff. Meanwhile, a little shout out to him. He was a pretty good teacher. People were expected to put needs of the state before their own. They eliminated opposition by using a supercomputer. They used propaganda. Okay. Stalin put in a command economy. So he's in Russia after Lenin.
Stalin's after Lenin.
He takes over after Lenin. And it's just an economic system where government is making the decisions. He institutes the 5-year plan to modernize. He puts everyone on these collectives and makes them work on these government farms. I think everyone starves. I don't think, maybe that's not the mass starvation, but I don't think it was a great plan. So you have, this is fascism. You have Stalin. Collectivizing agriculture, put everyone on collectives. In 1930, the economic instability led to the rise of the fascist dictators. After World War I, the rise of Mussolini in Italy are associated with fascism. Tsar Nicholas and Mussolini are similar in that they censored and repressed, which kind of led to Stalin's command economy. For government, yes. World War II. After World War II, they formed the United Nations. They don't really ask so much about United Nations. You have the Security Council, the people with the veto power, the Declaration of Human Rights, that all people should have rights. These are fixtures of the United Nations. It's a body meant to maintain order. You have the Nuremberg trials, where they put them on trial because of the atrocities. The Nuremberg Laws, though, are the discriminatory laws during World War I. Not that they went on trial because of the laws that they had in place. So the Nuremberg Laws, here you go, anti-Semitic laws, and that's why they went on trial. Nuremberg trials was address human rights abuses. I'm not reading that thing. Which event was the primary reason for the United Nations? The answer is the Holocaust. So, yeah. Cold War, it's a struggle between the U.S. and the Soviets. Cold because there was never any actual fighting. It was just standoff, tension. Iron Curtain. So Churchill said we need to make a line dividing Western Europe and Eastern Europe, and that's called the Iron Curtain. And the Soviets were afraid of us influencing them. They took satellite states on, where they made these states that mimicked their beliefs to buffer, so they didn't get impacted by us. And containment was Truman and Marshall did the opposite. They wanted to stop the spread, so they tried to keep it contained, like it's a disease, this belief of communism. I don't know why they thought it was such a disease, but military. So you had NATO, that's the U.S.'s group. That's what Trump says, NATO's a disaster, because he's pro-Russia, they say. I don't know. And then you have the Warsaw Pact, that's the Russian pact. So it's like this, arms race, Cuban Missile Crisis. The U.S. discovers that the Soviets snuck missiles into Cuba. Cuba's right under Florida. They would be able to hit us from there. They removed the missiles, but it got close. Blows were almost thrown. Germany during the Cold War, Germany was divided into West Germany, democratic. East Germany was controlled by the Soviets, so this was really a tension point. Germany had no more independence at this point, and they had the Berlin Wall. And then they had the Berlin airlift. People in the U.S. and France flew supplies over to West Berlin. That's the democratic side. After a blockade was set up. If you watch that movie with Tom Hanks, you watch that one? Spy. He has to negotiate the release of a treaty of spies.
Never saw it.
It was pretty good. Not great, but I did enjoy it. Korean War in Vietnam. It's a new movie. Korea War in Vietnam. Korea and Vietnam were each divided. We still have that in Korea. The Korean War and the Vietnam War were a result of these. Today, North Korea is still communist. South Korea is democratic. We had to deal with that guy, Kim Jong-un. Is that his name? Yeah. Yeah, that guy's. He's got a crazy cut, a nice haircut. No, Rochelle, his cut. He's got that radical fade going on. That guy, you wonder what he thinks. They made that movie about him. He got very insulted.
They didn't put it in theaters because of it.
Yeah, what happened with that? They should have put. I don't know.
They put it on Netflix. So it's funny.
Oh, what was it?
The Intern.
The
Intern.
It's called not the Intern.
The Interview.
The Interview.
I think you told me to watch it.
I don't know. I still haven't seen it, but I thought they should have aired it in every theater across the country, right?
No, but they hacked Sony or something, and then Sony got scared.
Yeah, they had their email ad. They had some bad dirt on them. Yeah, these guys are powerful. After the Vietnam War, all Vietnam became one united communist nation. Which factor most significant help in the Soviets? It's the cold weather, the winters, the harsh winters. Satellite states, we talked about a buffer zone too. Economic policies of Gorbachev and who's Gorbachev? We didn't get to him.
Russia, like 1980s.
Yeah, who is he though?
He like let loose with Reagan, he let everything go.
They're there.
We're gonna get to him at some point, no? I think we missed him. All right, so leave that question. Hopefully we'll hit him. That question shouldn't be there yet. We didn't get to Deng either. Okay, which conclusion states the Middle East Cold War? It serves as a key out in Middle East. Became a site of competition.
Yeah.
Truman Doctrine in NATO was response to the Communism. 1999, the primary role of the North Atlantic Treaty was since 1999 what has been the role of NATO.
3.
So 2 is the trick choice here. That was the old role of NATO, but now it's just lowering tariffs. It's more of a trade.
No, it's not even 2. 2 is Western Europe. They didn't care about Western.
A good point. Oh, why Western Europe?
Oh, Western. No,
right. So 2 is the trick choice. You think the answer? It's 3 tariffs between member nations. I thought it's maybe 4.
4.
4? Oh, maybe.
4.
I don't know then.
It's not a trade agreement. I think it's 4, but I don't know. Truman, we'll get to the trade agreements. NATO. Back then was the concern for the communist threat. 4, and what was the Korea and Germany similar to World War II? They were split. They remained divided. 3. We're nearing the end, baby. Communism in China, 1949 to present. Terms to remember. So you have Mao Zedong, the Great Leap Forward, Cultural Revolution, Deng Xiaoping. Okay, Mao Zedong was a communist dictator of China. Gained support of the peasants. He promised them land. He had the Long March. They fired on people while they marched. That was like a symbol of his rule. He said they're going to do the Great Leap Forward. It's similar to Stalin, who had the 5-year plan. And he set up communes similar to the collectives, where government farms, very similar. And then you have Mao and Stalin had a command economy in which the government owned businesses and farms. Okay, Cultural Revolution was the period in China where Mao used violent young communist soldiers known as the Red Guards to malign the opposition. That's they have kind of those in like Star Wars, you know, those red guys. I don't know. Anyhow, which Chinese leader is most, or maybe in the Hunger Games, I don't know, which Chinese leader, all those movies are epic though, which Chinese leader is most closely associated with leading the Great Leap Forward in the Cultural Revolution? So that's Mao Zedong. During the Great Leap Forward, Chinese peasants were forced to join communes. Long March is significant in Chinese history because it established Mao. No, it, yeah, okay. 4, established Mao Zedong as a revolutionary leader. Is that, yeah?
Yeah.
Main purpose is 1961. He told them, by government decree, everyone's entitled to a private lot. You're all getting land, and you have all their graves. The guy killed them. He didn't kill them literally, like the plan was dumb. Criticized Chinese government policy. Chinese communes referred to in 1961 are associated with the Great Leap Forward. Thing was, he went back to capitalist. He also was head of violence. He shot down the people in Taiwan when they revolted, and the Tiananmen, not Taiwan, Tiananmen Square. It was like college kids or something. Government was not willing to make democratic changes. Which actually improved the economy. So he encouraged capitalism too. The treatment of the untouchables in India, Jews, Chinese, they were all human rights violations, shooting down, these are not. Current issues, China controls the Buddhist region of Tibet, wants independence. China denies people human rights. Maybe each family is only allowed to have 1 child. Is that still true?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Questionable if that's still
There's
true.
definitely more than one per family.
There's now more than 1 at least.
Yes, for sure.
Rochelle, were you there recently?
There's Chinese everywhere.
Right. It seems like they're reproducing. Well, not in America, in China.
No.
Economic cooperation, interdependence. So now these are some economic treaties. You have the EU. That's organization of 27 countries that have decreased tariffs and increased trade. Decreased tariffs. We're not going to tax each other. Trump talks about using tariffs. Let's trade freely, like we're in the same state. There shouldn't be any taxes, maybe a small tax, but North American NAFTA is another one. Decreased tariffs, increased trade. So those are 2 trade agreements that we're in. Oil politics, key, determine price of oil. So OPEC controls the price of oil. So you have those abbreviated organizations. EU and NAFTA are trade barriers, 1. EU and NAFTA are reducing tariffs. WTO and NAFTA is 3, encourage trade. EU and NAFTA It's one, I guess, economic regional organization. OPEC is oil. That's, I guess, Middle East. Main reason for oil producing is to control the price of oil, influence the price of oil. Yes, they control the price. So again, this is great. This stuff. There's like 1 or 2 points on the test, and it's so easy to get. So when you see stuff like this, you're just like, this is a gold mine, folks. Decolonization. So now we've got colonies. Now they want independence. So we're going to get into India, Africa, Southeast Asia. So Turkey was part of the Ottoman Empire. Atatürk, what is this? He just wanted to westernize. We had him before. He put a democracy in place. The Muslims didn't like him because he eliminated Islamic laws and made secular laws. In India, where did you have that? I don't know. India, you had Gandhi. He protested against British rule in India. Nonviolent methods. They had the Salt March. You weren't allowed to make salt. They went and made salt. They boycotted goods sold by the British. So these are all methods of nonviolent resistance. And eventually, India got independence, but then, again, they weren't ready for it. The region was divided into the Hindu side and the Muslim side, and there's still tension in India. It's divided. I don't know, what's the safe side to visit? Where do people visit when they go there?
I have no idea. I just know Pakistan started from violence on the way. They fought when they were moving, and then they just said, all right, Palestine and India. Pakistan.
Kashmir is an area near India and Pakistan that both nations claim to control. And they both have nuclear weapons and they live next door to each other.
Anywhere near here.
I don't know. Which goal is most important to the Indian nationalist movement? The nationalist independence from British rule. The goal of the Congress and Mao, what is this? To remove foreign control. Why did large numbers of Hindus and Muslims migrate after it gained? Because of religious issues. 3. 4. Which leader, next one, was responsible for Turkey? Atatürk. In the picture, you can see Gandhi. Atatürk wanted to westernize, just like a Westerner. Gandhi, old-fashioned. So it shows that they made both. They're similar. No, the clothes make political statements for. Both leaders were known for their commitment to, nationalist movements. And then India partitioned Serbs, which these cultural not stable. Tension. There's a tension. Conflict. Okay. Decolonization Africa. So we talked about how Africa was a colony. Now they want to become independent. They were the ones that were destroyed. So you had Kenyatta, who helped them fight for independence, and Nkrumah again. But then, after they gained independence, what happened? Well, in South Africa, they had the apartheid. The Europeans still controlled. They never really got independent. And they segregated, and then you had Mandela eventually, who fought against the apartheid, was imprisoned for 27 years. And then became the president once he got out, which is crazy. And North Africa, Pan-Africanism, they struggled to unite because of tribal wars, so they were never able to get their act together. Ho Chi Minh and Kenyatta were both people who self-determination. It's not going to be Pan-Africanism because Ho Chi Minh is clearly not African. Ethnic loyalties can have on building unity, a struggle to build unity. Mandela got a Nobel Prize for the end of the apartheid. Threats to achieve... This is censorship? What does it have to do with anything, though? I don't know. Okay. Which country is the past associated with? Oh, I guess that's why. To Africa. Apartheid, South Africa. Okay. The goal of Pan-Africanism was to promote a united Africa, one Africa, which is the most closely associated boundaries for the newly independent European countries. What's the answer to this one? Ethnic tensions. Okay, that's good. The white only, that's apartheid. All right, apartheid they ask about often, clearly. Okay, Rwanda, after independence, you had the Hutus and the Tutsis. They slaughtered. It was a genocide. Rwanda genocide. That's pretty much it. It's a conflict. Okay. Decolonization in Southeast Asia. So here's Ho Chi Minh. He wanted, again, Southeast Asia wanted independence. Vietnam after independence, it was divided. They weren't able to unite again. After the Vietnam War, though, they all united. Cambodia, after independence, was ruled by Pol Pot, ruler of Cambodia. He was a brutal dictator. He had a genocide. I don't know
Should
about
they know all these small details?
No. No, if there's no question on it, then definitely not. If there's no question or one question on 4 regions, it's like if you want to get 100, maybe you should. If you don't, then it's rarely asked. So these are the big list. You should just know these guys are nationalist rulers. They helped fought for self-determination. The Middle East, you have Zionism. You guys know about that now. I don't think we need it one way. We don't have to go through these questions. Geopolitics is important because of the oil, right? So the 4 strategic location. Islamic fundamentalism, that's Ayatollah Khomeini. They have religious rule there. So it's based on Sharia law, Islamic law. Soviet Union. Oh, here's Gorbachev. He brought an end to communism in the Soviet Union. So he helped bring an end to communism. Collapse of communism in Germany. It was divided. They broke down the Berlin Wall. It symbolized the end of the Cold War. They were reunited as one democratic country. Here's a list of the genocides. In case you should just know those are genocides. Economic systems, we talked about barter, subsistence, we discussed that's government owns the land. People have the same occupation as their parents. This is traditional economy, okay? Market economy. Individuals own businesses, it's called supply and demand. Command or communist economy. The government owns the business. Globalization is the idea that we're all interconnected now more than ever. Recent issues, ethnic conflicts, these are not even updated as they could be. Nuclear proliferation, now maybe they'll talk about what's going on in North Korea or with Russia, or the questions about NATO. AIDS used to be an issue. Environmental problems, destruction of the ozone layer, greenhouse gases, deforestation, more bio stuff, oil spills. Which issue is a threat to biodiversity in Central Africa? I don't know what the answer to this one is. Does anyone know? Amazon basin.
Maybe,
I don't know. I don't know the answers to
I'd
these.
say deforestation. I have no idea.
Right, because they
one.
seem like
Let's
forest
just go with
places.
one.
Yeah, Central Africa.
Over farming and overgrazing, when these are all desertification, turning it into a desert. Yeah, and the Sahel, that's a desert. Okay, the end.
Alright.
Woo! Yeah.